A From Dublin to Cleveland production. Hello, everybody, and welcome to From Dublin to Cleveland. I am Logan Howard, and unfortunately, or fortunately for some of you, and I'm one of those people, it's fortunately, I am joined by the one and only Brendan Thomas Merritt. How's it going, Brendan? How are you?
That sentence started off way stronger than it ended. There were so many positives and negatives. I was like, where is he going with this? I'm great. Always great. How are you?
I'm
Happy to
doing
be back
fabulously
after all this
well.
time.
It is so much better to have his voice here as well. I know that you all have enjoyed the last couple episodes on both sides when we have been separate, but we are back together again, hopefully to new heights and new things. We are on year 2 now, or year 3 now. We finished year 2.
Wow.
We had our second
How
anniversary
that
the other
happened?
day. That was really cool. So we have a new year. This will be a new season. So I think it's season 5 now will be the new start. And so we'll go through to the new year. And it's been exciting to have all you, and hopefully we'll get new people along the way. We are in new places, at least for me. Brendan's still in the same old place, at least for now. Still working on what's the next stage for his life, but I am in a new space, as you can see, with the wood background and everything. I'll do a quick spin. This is my new room. I am, of course, the last couple episodes been saying, I'm off to a new job in New York. So it's New York to Dublin instead of Cleveland to Dublin. But we're not going to change the name, so...
No, we are not.
Here is my lovely bed, my half closet, the door, and then, of course, the dresser. And you're back to me. So, yeah, quite a small little room, but it'll do what it needs to be done. And I am glad there's not like 3 other bunks in here and 6 other guys, because that would be ridiculous. But yeah, so today on our podcast, we are going to be doing more hot seat questions. Basically, we haven't been able to communicate very much well because of internet issues and all that stuff. So we haven't had time to start to think of ideas and stuff. And Brendan's using all of his creativity on his book, which will come out very shortly. Cheap plug. We will let you know when that's out. We'll let you know when that's out, so you can get yourself a copy. First read the first book, I believe, and then this is the second book, but you can find the first book in the link in description, so buy one of those. But we are going back to our old roots, asking more hot seat questions. So let me find a good music here. The game show one. Let's do that. So... Brendan, if you were in trouble, who is the first person you would contact for help?
Oh my goodness. Yikes. Probably Jesus. I'd be like, hey, it's me again.
It's me again.
Oh golly. I don't know, it depended who it was. If it was something like that I needed physical help for, probably my younger brother. We've helped each other out with some interesting scrapes over the years. But if it was something more emotional based or mental based, I suppose, either a very close uncle I have, or maybe even you. As long as you could tear yourself away from your summer camp kids.
I think on my end, it would be... if it was like how to do something, it would probably be my dad, or maybe even like the camp directors or stuff, because you kind of need to know what you're doing. So, and I hardly ever know what I'm doing, so I always have to be asking for help figuring out stuff. But in like serious trouble in terms of like maybe emotional or whatever, those kind of things, I think Brendan is definitely high on that list of going to and asking about. I have other friends, my family, those kind of things. So my family is a big part of that. Of when I have an issue or something's going on, I go to them, and they are very good about giving advice and stuff. But there's a good chance I won't have anything to do with like being arrested, because I'm not dumb. So I shouldn't have any of that kind of trouble.
Pride comes before the fall.
Yes.
There's a fly
All
in the
right.
window that was killing. Sorry.
Yep, no worries. He's killing a fly.
I hope they're
But
ants.
while you're killing a fly, what is your favorite season, and why is it your favorite season?
Oh golly, it used to be winter. I used to love like the Christmas lights and the
Hmm.
cold and all that crack. Now I'd probably say summer. I actually, I don't know, beaches and pools and all that crack used to just totally disinterest me. But slowly but surely over the years, they have grown on me.
Hmm.
And I like actually during, really hot days, taking students out of the school building and, doing class on the grass, which is not a drugs reference. I mean, like doing it in a park or something. Uh, outdoor class, having some fun. And sunshine just makes people all cheery. Now we had a very, very rainy summer this time round. We actually had a hotter autumn, and it only began like 5 days ago. But probably summer.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I would probably say, uh, I think that the usual answer I go with is either spring or fall, because it's usually milder temperatures. It's not very extreme heat or extreme cold. Um, the leaves changing, whether the leaves are growing or the leaves are dying, are both very pretty. I think spring is probably my more favorite because it usually means that summer is around the way and it's like winter is ending. Usually spring's pretty terrible where I live, but it is exciting because something new is happening and winter is gone and in the past. So probably lean towards spring. Um, if you could know the answer to any question, what would that question be?
Oh golly. Um, this should not sound morbid, okay? It's in Moses, Sam, and the Book of Psalms, people. But probably the hour of my death. When I'm gonna die. I think
Hmm.
I would actually operate to make every single moment count. I do try, I do. But I think there's something about knowing the time. Where if you didn't fall into total and utter despondence, you'd really motivate yourself and actually appreciate, okay, you know what, we're not immortal, at least in these bodies. You do actually have to just say, carpe diem, seize the day, and maximize your time while you have it on the earth.
Yeah, I think you stole my answer. Um,
Ah, you
I'm
get to
gonna
pretend it's an original.
I'm gonna attempt to do maybe a different question. And I think it might have to do with the longs of why does God allow like certain things that seem very bad to happen, like specific detail wise. So for instance, why does our lovely president Joe Biden get to be put in charge of America when we all know that Donald Trump should be our president? Those kind of things that uh, like why do those things just happen? Like what redeeming value do we see out of that? And sometimes a good thing called time comes along and we see why. Um, but a lot of times we're just like, that just seems like a really bad thing to happen. Why would that happen? Um, so knowing those kind of questions, like specific details wise, not like I understand God is always working through all those things and always working them out for his good, but knowing the specific details at the beginning of the issue coming along would make it a lot easier to live through it. Um, yeah, so that'd be an interesting question to have answered. Okay, what is one of the best gifts someone has ever given you?
Oh, I was Christmas shopping last year, and I walked into a shop called Penny's. It's like our cheapest shop in Ireland for all things clothes related. And I saw I did have it beside me. Hold on. Here we go. A big fleecy. It's like Marvel, but it's like a big onesie, and it's the softest thing I've ever felt in my
That
life.
looks amazingly soft.
It is. And I
Wow.
just said to myself, I'm gonna buy this. And then you know who I saw also shopping in that clothes shop? My brother. I didn't know that I was there. And I was not supposed to know he was. So I just said, if I put this back on the rack, he is going to see it. He is going to buy it for me. And he will have the best time of his life watching me open on Christmas Day. And that is exactly what happened. Every T crossed, every I dotted. And I was like, oh my goodness, I never knew this even existed. And to that day, he had not even known I was in the shop at the same time as him. But it's just ridiculously fleecy.
Awesome. Awesome. So, mine was also a Christmas gift that was given by yours truly, Brendan Thomas Merritt, which is this lovely, awesome lightsaber. It was quite a big deal this summer because everyone was like, oh, "Where did you get that lightsaber from? It's amazing! It's so cool! Like I'm just so jealous. Where did you find it?" And I was like, I don't know where it was found, but my friend from Ireland bought it specially for me. And they're like,
And we have
my
a
friends would
podcast.
never buy me things like that. It would be so expensive. They would never do that. So
True.
he probably spent all of $5 for it, but it was so amazing, and everyone thought it was amazing. So
And that's when you plugged our podcast, yeah?
yes,
That's
of
why we have
course.
so many new views.
I said you could go watch me open it on one of our episodes.
You're not wrong. It's like, just start episode 1, you'll get to that episode eventually.
Yeah. Mhm. All right. Next question. How would your best friend describe you?
Oh. I don't know. I think I've got different best friends. I've got
Of
like a
course.
best friend in every area of my life.
Yeah, which is
Um,
wise.
yeah, and I think some might say funny, some probably don't think I'm all that funny. Some might say loyal, some might say that I have more faces than I could possibly count. But I think all of them would probably say wise. If I had to give a word, they would say wise or something along that line of maybe knowledgeable or attentive. I think it would come down to somewhere in that region, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people describe you behind your back.
I think they would describe me as intense and very serious.
So good
And
qualities.
they are good qualities. They can be taken out of context or out of control at
That's
times.
true. Yeah.
I do think some people would say I'm funny. I think some people would say I'm very wise and someone like an older brother-esque person, which is there was a bunch of people that said that this summer. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing most of the time. It's not a good thing when whatever girl you like is you're interested in and she sees you as an older brother. Not a good thing. But when
I love
every
you
other
like a
person
brother in
sees you,
Christ.
yeah, yeah, you get a nice. You don't even get friend zoned though. You get brother zoned, which I did not realize that was a thing, but it is. Beware.
Like the worst thing you can call a Christian.
All right. Next question. What is one of the best jokes you know by memory?
Oh. Well, I once read a Christmas cracker joke. And it said... I'm going to say knock knock who's there. That's not how it goes. It says, what do you get if you cross Santa Claus with a detective? And the
Okay.
answer they gave was Santa Claus. I didn't think that was all that hot, so I decided to change the punchline myself.
Okay.
So, what do you get if you cross Santa Claus with a detective? The answer I gave it, which is so much more superior, is Sherlock Ho Ho Holmes. But Your delayed
Sherlock.
reaction clearly shows how you really feel.
No,
I thought it was bad.
it was the delayed internet reaction, of course.
Right, of course, of course.
It's all right.
The joke
Mine's
is
much
well
worse.
defined.
Mine's much worse, so don't worry about it. What
Worse,
did
you said it
the
was great.
what? Mine's much worse. Don't worry.
Taking off my
What
glasses, you don't have to look at you lying them to me.
what did the green grape say to the purple grape?
I've heard this recently. Probably from you. You're bruised. Were you beaten up by your husband?
No. Mm-mm. Oh my gosh! Calm down. Breathe. Breathe.
Oh, I remember not laughing the first time you
Just
said.
holding his breath. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I forgot it, because it wasn't
Yeah.
funny.
It's not good. That's the best joke because that's all I got.
Remember he said
You're
earlier,
always-
guys, that some people say he was funny?
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people.
Yeah. No. Yeah. All right. Next question. Knowing what you do now, what advice would you give yourself 5 years ago?
5 when I was 22. Oh, no. I'm not that young. 24. I think with the pandemic, I keep thinking I'm like 2 years younger
Yeah.
than I am.
Yeah, I agree. I'm 25.
Actually, I'll be honest, when people ask what age I am, I say I'm 26. Okay, what age? 24. I don't know what I was like when I was 24. I think I was emotionally immature. I think I was carrying a lot of unresolved pain issues around. And it definitely impacted relationships in my world at the time, which were supposed to be incredible blessings in my life. And those people aren't there today. So I think I would probably, if I could go back, I would right, sit myself down, give myself a stern talking to, and very seriously say, bruh, you need to get your soul wounds healed. Have a bit of a heart check and deal with what he's dealing with. Because otherwise, you know what? Things you're praying for and things God answers and sends to you, they're going to slip through your fingers, you're going to appreciate them. And you're not going to have the capacity to hold on to them.
Yeah.
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 What would you tell younger Logan?
I think there's definitely some similar things there of working more on emotional maturity.
Emotional damage.
Yeah, working through that stuff and not just pushing it down. I think I would tell myself to work at summer camp more often than I ever, and like it's going to help you later on. Because I had absolutely no desire at that age. I think telling myself how to grow more in patience and to build more friendships, not only with other guys, like heavily, but also being able to have good friendships with girls, because that's not something forever, like all of my life, I've not been able to do, because there's always, you either get interested in them or they get interested in you, or they're just super awkward or weird. But like the last couple summers, being able to work extensively with women for a whole extended period of time, and being able to build those friendships that are just friendships, and being an older brother and encouraging them and caring for them, and not in a romantic type of way. I wish I had more of those when I was younger, because that would help me now.
Yes.
Have more experience there. So I think that area would have been very helpful. But. All right. Last question for the episode today. Do you have a favorite sports team, and what is it?
Why don't you give me your answer?
Why don't I give my answer?
I'll just say Ireland. Why not?
He cheers
the World
for
Cup.
Ireland.
I might watch one of our matches if we make it.
he cheers for Ireland. Yeah, go Ireland.
The whole country.
So right now I'm not in between teams. I'm just trying to figure out who I'm actually going to cheer for. I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan as much anymore because they've been stupid by hiring terrible human beings. And my favorite player now plays for the New York Jets, and ironically, I live in New York, so maybe I become a New York Jets fan. But I still love the Packers, and so Packers are probably my favorite team. And football's about to start. I'm about to have a fantasy draft as soon as we get off this call. So yeah, it'll be super great. Uh, Picking all of these random players and hoping we win a championship. I won 2 last year, so let's win them again for the old Gipper, as they say. Um, but with all that being said, let's get into our Bible time. You can, of course, find us at fromdublintocleveland.com. We have a new website, so go to fromdublintocleveland.com to find us, and you can list all the episodes. They're all 97 of them now. This is an episode 97, so we're 3 away from the big 100. Gonna be a celebration, of course. We're gonna have to come up with something big for 100.
We'll meet up in person.
Oh, wow! No, that's
And by
episode
we, I mean
200.
right here.
That's episode
Yeah.
200. Don't worry, guys. Episode
We'll start
200.
saving up for it now.
If you'd like to help us get to Dublin or help me
No.
get to Dublin, you
There are
can
parents
donate.
listening to this who are like thinking recruiting their kids, like Christian only fans.
If you'd like to help us be in person, you can donate on our Patreon page. We don't have a Patreon page.
Just buy our shirts and boots, people. Help us that way.
Of course, we have
Uh-huh.
T-shirts that you can buy if you are so inclined. Brendan's book is in the link in the description as well, and you can, of course, support us that way. You can follow us on Facebook at From Dublin to Cleveland, and you can follow each of us. I am VanAniman17. He is Brendan Thomas Merritt on Instagram, and you can also watch these
memes.
white hot memes. Yes, they are pretty white hot. Like what was the one today? It was something about we have delivered your baby, and then the person responds, "No, we want to keep the liver." White hot memes.
And I posted one earlier about you know, like Netflix are infamous for like, you know, race swapping characters. Like they had the Greek
Oh yeah.
Queen Cleopatra
Yeah.
of Egypt, and they were like, oh no, she was definitely black. And just kind of, you know, throwing like, you know, African American leftist values on Egyptian culture, and then they got sued for it. So I came across one recently, and it was like a fake advertisement for a Netflix show called George Washington of a black man wearing his clothes.
Oh my word.
And I've just posted like, you know, like 10 of those in the last week alone. Some people are probably thinking, oh my goodness, what's this guy's problem? Or we have like a really, really great singer here called Sinead O'Connor. Crazy lady, made weird decisions, but world famous for her voice. But I posted one today, you know, a Netflix, a Korean show called Sinead O'Connor. But again, it's a woman who just like has been race swapped and looks completely and utterly unlike her. White hot memes.
Yes. So we will get into our Bible times. Now we are in Genesis 41. We are, of course, talking about Joseph and Pharaoh's dream. And so I'm not going to get into too much reading of it, but basically Joseph has been in prison. He's thrown in prison because of first of all, his brothers sent him to Egypt. They sold him into slavery. And then, of course, he rises up into power into Potiphar's family and starts to rule in their household. And then Potiphar's wife just goes, "Oh, lay with me." And he says, "Absolutely not." And eventually gets thrown in prison because she frames him for sleeping with her, but he didn't. And so he's in prison, and he has these 2 guys come, the butler and the baker, and they both show up, and have dreams, and Joseph interprets them. And of course, you have the baker who ends up executed, and the butler goes back to the palace, and the butler forgets everything to do with about Joseph for a solid 2 years. And the verse in 41:1 just says, "Then it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh had a dream, and behold, he stood by the river." So 2 years go by of him being in prison. Um, and it continues on where Pharaoh has this dream about these cows and these stalks of grain and fat cows getting eaten by skinny cows. And so it goes through of Pharaoh not being able to get an interpretation to his dream. And then, of course, the butler remembers Joseph, calls Joseph, and Joseph says to him, "Look, my interpretations are not from me, they are from God." His specific word says, "It's not in me, it's not me, but God will give Pharaoh an answer." So, how I think the greatest part of that is God being able, or Joseph being able to point directly to God in front of Pharaoh. And his heart took a long journey to get to that point, and there was a lot of things that happened to Joseph, but God was gracious through every single step of it, and eventually, in one day, he goes from the prison cell to the palace door as second in command. So, Brandon, any thoughts or comments you'd like to add, subtract, correct onto what I said?
Yeah, I'd like to correct all the biblical references you made. I joke, people. I joke. Yeah, you know what? Listen, it's incredible. It just takes God one day, and you go from zero to hero. And what I really like here is in Genesis 40, which is when Joseph interprets the dream of the cupbearer or the butler and the baker. Okay, the baker is not so keen. He's basically told, "You're going to die." The butler is over the moon. But then Joseph says to him, "Remember me when you're back at Pharaoh's side and tell him, what I've been through and yada, yada, yada." It's a big sob story. And I think intuitively, he knew that his gift and the cupbearer, the butler, were somehow going to be the key to his eventual rise to power based on the dream he had in Genesis 37 of his brothers bowing before him. But when you see him standing before Pharaoh 2 years later in Genesis 41, he's asked if he can interpret dreams, and he says, "No, I can't." But all the glory goes to God. No sob story, no sob fest, no emotional manipulation. It's a 100% God thing. And as a result, he's given the name Zaphanet Paneah. God lives and God speaks. And I think, and listen, I'm not one of those people who says bad things happen for good reasons. Bad things happen because we have a devil who hates us. He has a big army who despise us. But God uses wicked things to prune us, to strengthen us, to bring his will about. And, Logan mentioned earlier, Joe Biden, don't worry, guys, God's got all worked out, and he will eliminate your enemies, because he's a good God. It's what he does.
Amen.
Those who put themselves in a place that they should not be in, that they were not voted in, that they don't have the authority to be in, he makes low. But the humble, he exalts. So, there is no 46. It's only 45 people. This is as high as the presidency number goes. And in Joseph's case, you know what? There was still a lot of sadness and bitterness and perhaps control within him in Genesis 40 when he was in the prison. But I think after being forgotten for 2 years by his ticket out of there, he knew that God was the only way he was getting out of there and being put in that position. And suddenly there was no more self in him at that point. No more bitterness, no more rage. no more arrogance, even
Yeah.
just total reliance in that moment on God. And again, it's the humble that God exalts. So, if it's a case, for any of you where you feel like you've been forgotten, put on a shelf, that you're in an emotional or mental prison and you've been there for years, you feel like everyone else's prayers are being answered, everyone else's lives are moving forward and you're stuck, you're going nowhere, God sees you.
Amen.
And you can ask Him today, God, what is it you're doing in my life?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe He'll answer you through the word or a vision or a dream, or He'll put someone in your world who'll encourage you. And you just have to stay the course. If you persevere, you will bear fruit. You will reap a harvest.
Amen.
Don't tag out. Don't give up on God. Because if the enemy is invested in trying to destroy you, you can bet your hat that God is not done with you. He is for you. He loves you. In your tomorrow, things are so much better than they are today. He has an appointed end for you, plans for good, to bless you, to prosper you, to give you hope in the future. He is the Father of the heavenly lights and the giver of good gifts, good, perfect, and pleasing gifts. That is your portion. So hang in there. And if you want someone to stand with you in prayer, drop us a line at fromdublintocleveland@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy to stand with you in prayer, or even write us underneath the YouTube video. And just know that all of those requests will be prayed over and brought before the throne of grace, which is where we find help in our times of need.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So you all can, of course, find us at our Instagrams. You can follow all the great memes on Brendan
White
Thomas Merritt.
hot memes.
White hot memes. Brendan has his finger on the pulse of the meme world, so stay with
He really
him.
does.
He posts tons daily. So yeah, stay with Brendan. He'll lead you to comedy gold, of course. So it's been lovely seeing you all. Lovely being able to speak with you all, and that we're both back together in the same room. So we'll hopefully get back on a pretty regular
Virtually.
basis of doing this. And thankfully, the internet is now working, and it's all good here. So thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully, we will see or hear from you shortly, and you'll hear from us shortly as well. And see you all next time. Bye bye.
Bye, friends.